I've seen a lot of high jumpers, they wear sports sunglasses or visors. Is it just to keep the light out, or is there any other?
Yeah, it's the aesthetics. Look good, feel good, jump good. I'm Kampton Kam, Singaporean high jumper.
Very nice to say, Kampton Kam. What does that mean, man?
My name was inspired from Hampton Court in the UK. My parents were probably traveling there and they had this idea. And then my last name is Kam, so change the H to a K, and then you have like this KK like syllables.
Just a few days ago, I mean, you cleared 2.20. I saw the videos myself, man. I was looking through your profile and very, very raw emotions, and I love it. Describe to me in words, that feeling, and what does it mean to you to have achieved that?
So it's just pure like adrenaline and exhilaration.
In May, you publicly mentioned that you experienced sharp pains. You were urgently sent to the hospital with an x-ray that showed a collapsed lung. You also mentioned in an article recently that your mom had cancer last year and you had to further miss out on competitions.
One moment you're clearing double PR, jumping to 20, chasing that national record, and then next thing you're on the operating table, right? You're having a surgery, 2 tubes sticking up your side and your back. Breathing was pain, talking was pain, eating was pain. I had to learn how to breathe again. Last year when I found out my mom had cancer, it was honestly, why her, right? And there's so much you can plan, right? You can plan 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road. But if, the next day you find out you have cancer, it's terminal, like what can you do, right?
Why not let's begin by introducing yourself, just a short introduction, what's your name, what do you do?
All right, cool. So I'm Kampton Kam, Singaporean high jumper. Currently studying at University of Pennsylvania, Wharton Business School. A sophomore, and recently just broke the national indoor record for Singapore in the high jump.
Beautiful. Okay, so congratulations, by the way. And
Thank you.
Kampton, okay, your name is interesting. What does that mean, man?
Interesting. Yeah, I think my name was inspired from Hampton Court in the UK. I think my parents were probably traveling there and they had this idea, and then my last name is Kam, so change the H to a K, and then you have like this KK like syllables. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very nice. I mean, your first name and last name matches well, so it's very nice to say, Kampton Kam. Okay, so where did your passion for high jump come about? Like, where did it all start? Where did it all begin?
Well, it all started in P3. So we had a kind of track and field camp. As a kid, you just did all the events, did running, throwing, jumping. Was a little bit taller than my peers, and basically they put me in the high jump. That was P3, and I think at that point in time we didn't have a division for P3, so I competed against the P4s at national schools 2 months later. Surprisingly won the competition, and from then on, stuck with high jump, did the relays, did hurdles, did long jump along the way, but high jump was my passion and just stuck with it.
Wonderful. That's a good story to start off with. And pardon me, I'm not really good with track and field stuff, but what's the main differences between indoor and outdoor? Like, yeah.
I think for high jump, it's the wind. I guess the atmosphere as well. So indoors, I never had that experience in national school. It was always outdoors. So my first ever indoor experience was in Sweden actually. And that was like a huge difference for me because temperature wise as well, I'm used to the heat in Singapore. Sweden was kind of cold. I went in the winter, negative 16 degrees. Jumped there. I think indoor is more controllable in terms of the elements, and this year really getting more exposure. I've been competing every week since January, and just getting used to it. So I think getting the hang of adapting to indoor facilities as well. Penn is going to have our new indoor facility this fall, so really excited to be able to train there and improve on the indoor record.
Beautiful. So there's a lot of factors that affect indoor and outdoor. I mean, like you said, one of it can be temperature. And coming from a tropical island, both you and me, it's not easy to adapt to the cold. I mean, living overseas as well, I hate winter, man. For myself, like Like when I woke up and then you just have to go to the toilet and it's just so cold. You just wanna get in with the hot water and then just get done with it. And then when it's done, you're just freezing, right? So
Yeah,
I can imagine how that would affect you in different climates when jumping because you have to run and then like you said the wind and
mm,
everything. So yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
Just a few days ago, I mean, you cleared 2.20 right meters in the Darius Dixon Memorial Invitational in Virginia, um, which is a follow up from clearing 2.15 meters a couple of weeks ago at Penn University, right? So you broke
Penn
your
State.
end, huh?
It was at Penn State.
It's at Penn State, yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And you broke your indoor record twice and rewrote the national record for high jump in a span of 2 weeks. Okay, so describe to me in words, that feeling, and what does it mean to you to have achieved that?
Well, well, I guess I can start with the first one at Penn State. So that was more like a confidence boost to say because we were still working on the run up. It wasn't a full thing. Going into the competition, we had this game plan, my coach and I, just to stick with it and be patient. So we executed the plan and jumped as high as I could with the 6 steps and cleared the national record. And I think that was something of a confidence boost because all this time I've been working on that, just trying to get it I guess perfected, but still not perfected, obviously. So always trying to improve. But that was the first time, I had jumped 7 feet indoors. So that was like a huge thing for me. And, my teammates were obviously very supportive and, they were just cheering me on. Following week was at Virginia, Liberty University. And going into that, we had pushed it back to a 10 step. And, that was the full run up that we had been building up to at that point in time. And so, I was ready to rip it. My coach was like, let's light it up at Liberty University. This is the meet. And I was like, okay, let's go. So we did it, jumped 220. Um, the moment, so I had 3 attempts at 220. The first one was the closest. I think I clipped it with my heels. And I was like so frustrated because I knew I had it in the bag. Second attempt wasn't the best. And coming down to the last attempt, I just like, it's all mental, right? I just told myself, you have to clear this. This is the jump that you have to do. Cleared it. This is like raw emotions coming out. It was 2 years in the making, since my surgery back in 2022, to come back to 220 and to do it in front of a team that, I'm really close to, see the support, see all my friends at the side of the mat running towards me. It was just pure like adrenaline and exhilaration.
And elation, of course. I mean, I
Yeah.
saw the videos myself, man. I was looking through your profile and very, very raw emotions, and I love it. And you have a really great team. I mean, we all can tell from the videos. And no, I'm really so happy for you. And I mean, to break the record, I know that I can only imagine how much it has been for you in the past 2 years to have gone through what you've gone through and to have done that. So pretty interesting. So I mean, you mentioned 6 steps, 10 steps. What's that? I mean, like the amount of steps you take before you jump, right? I
Yeah,
would
so
presume.
we basically have a run up for the high jump. It depends on which like
Mhm.
what your preference is, your takeoff leg as well. So I'm a right foot jumper. I come off from the left side. If you're a left foot jumper, you come off the right side. So for me, my previous run up was 8 steps prior to the surgery, and then just tweaking a little bit, trying to find what works for me. So I pushed it back to a 10 step, and just like it's the nuts and bolts, right? Like some people have longer strides, some people have shorter strides, some people run faster, some people are like power jumpers. So all this is like personal preference, and so depending on what you prefer, I prefer 10 right now. Some people can do a 7 step, different legs at the start versus a takeoff. So yeah, it all comes down to personal preference basically.
Cool, cool. And different strategies, and also, I mean, you can modify it whenever you like, whatever suits you best at that current point in time, or whatever is good for your
Yep.
body. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, so um, at this time, you're the current number one ranked high jumper in Singapore, and also University of Pennsylvania's number two all time indoor jumper. I imagine you're not going to stop there. So what's next for you?
Yeah, so I have most of the Singapore records right now. The only thing left that I can chase is Wong Yutong's outdoor record, 222. And he's been such an amazing like mentor, always encouraging me, telling me, it's coming. I can't wait for you to break it. I can tell that he's really supportive. So that's really nice. There's no bad blood. And I think, he really wants to see high jump in Singapore like improve and progress. He says it's about time. So for me, that is the goal. As for Penn's record, it's 224 indoors. That's something I have to chase a little bit more. Outdoors is 228, so that would be a bigger improvement that I need to do. And so I'm just gonna try to, smash those records and in the process, hopefully qualify for the Olympics.
Beautiful. I mean, it's always good to set a vision, to set a goal, something to aim towards, to something to achieve, something to break, right? This records. So I'm very happy to also hear that Wong Yutong himself is very encouraging and does mentor you. And I like that when he said no bad blood. I mean, he must be very genuine. In
hmm
watching you from the sidelines and wanting you to
Yeah.
succeed. Curious question: does height play a lot of part in high jumping? Like, what's your height?
So I'm currently 188
Okay.
centimeters tall. I do think, height plays a part, but you know, like I train with Stefan. He's this Olympic champion 2004. People, he was telling me his story. People doubting him. He was 6 feet, 181. Yet he holds the world record for the highest displacement jumped over his height. So I think, to a certain point, it's like mental as well. So for him, definitely, he crushed every barrier, every doubt there was for him. Definitely, I would think, height does play a part physics wise. Your CG is higher. It takes less energy to clear the bar. That's just like physics, but at a certain point in time, it's like technique as well. So Stefan's technically amazing, and that's why I went to him to train in Sweden, and really learned a lot from him.
I mean, yeah, I would imagine height does play a part, like you mentioned, but also, like you said, the technique, the vertical, the I don't know, a thought just randomly came into my head. Like, I was just thinking, like, how some NBA players, they're able to dunk when they're like, just 5 feet, 5 feet 8 or five
Yeah,
feet nine. I mean, like Nate Robinson, right? Like, he's like 1 7 something, and he's one of the best dunkers in the NBA
yeah.
in his time. So I'm thinking how explosive he gets when he jumps directly off the ground and when he's competing with peers that are way taller than him, right? So
Yeah, he has hops, definitely.
yeah, definitely. And it's just another curious question. Why do I've seen a lot of high jumpers, they wear sport sunglasses or visors, right? Is it just to keep the light out, or is there any other uh benefits to it? Like outdoor, right?
Well,
Mostly.
yeah, I guess so sometimes, where the mat's placed, it has the sun,
Hmm.
facing you. And so I guess that would be like the practical reasons for having like sunglasses or visors. If other than that, maybe it could be mental, you're blocking everything out, you're just zoning in, focusing on the height and the mat. And I think for me it's more of that, but also like so with the Oakley sunglasses, I'm able to see like the floor very well. There's contrast, and so for me, if there's any like kind of indents or like puddles when it's wet, for example, I can see the difference, and that just helps me a little bit. And I think outdoors is gonna be because it's gonna play a bigger part if the sun is directly in
Hmm.
my face. So that's the reason I use it.
Awesome, and looks good in photos as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the aesthetics. Look good, feel good, jump good.
Yeah. I also I used to wear Oakleys when I taught swimming to kids and toddlers. So I would imagine like the sunlight and everything, how it would affect.
Yeah. Oakleys are
So
the best. I mean, I love Oakleys.
beautiful.
Just a quick one. I remember back when I was younger, I was going through an incredibly tough period in my life where I had no one to talk to about my problems. There was no place I could share my honest thoughts and feelings because I was just so afraid of being judged by people. And I realized that was so bad for my mental well being. It's like bottling up everything and just waiting for a day where it all explodes. So no, we're not gonna let that happen for you. Because my team and I have developed a free social app called Huddle.so, where you can share all your problems anonymously, whatever is currently on your mind that's bothering you, whatever is making you upset or giving you sleepless nights. This is a non-toxic app where you can just be yourself, heal, and make many wholesome friends that will be there for you to support you during difficult times. The app is currently available on iOS at the moment, so good news for iPhone users. But we are working really hard to get an Android version out as soon as we can, so we don't miss out on the rest of you. So trust me, download the app, give it a shot, and I guarantee you that your future you will thank you for taking care of yourself. I'll put the link in the description below as well, and I'll see you in Harvest.
In May, you publicly mentioned that you experienced sharp pains. May 2022, was it? Yeah. And
Yep.
felt breathlessness. You were urgently sent to the hospital with an X-ray that showed a collapsed lung. This made you miss the 2022 SEA Games, unfortunately. You also mentioned in an article recently that your mom had cancer last year, and you had to further miss out on competitions. And do you consider these moments the lowest points in your life or in your career as an athlete so far? And how did you bounce back from these moments to get to where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. Low points in my life. One moment you're clearing double PR, jumping to 20, chasing that national record, and trying to contend for the gold medal at SEA Games. And then next thing you're on the operating table, right? You're having a surgery, two tubes sticking up your side and your back. Breathing was pain, talking was pain, eating was pain. I had to learn how to breathe again. Yeah, so definitely learned a lot from that experience. Learning to not take things for granted, because you never know if that's my last jump, I would have been pretty sad. And I did give my best, gave my all, but to not be able to do the sport anymore would be pretty crushing. Thankfully, I'm still able to do that, and it's not just me; it's a lot of people that were around me, supporting me, helping me get back to where I was, and believing in me, most importantly. Last year when I found out my mom had cancer, it was honestly a really shocking thing, because you would never expect, you never know, never expect. And my mom looked healthy. I was just like, why her, right? And as a family, I think we had a different outlook, and we recognized what was important and what wasn't. And so I adopted that into my daily life, taking things within my stride, and also just taking one day at a time. There's so much you can plan, right? You can plan 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road, but if the next day you find out you have cancer, it's terminal, like what can you do, right? Like, so just take every day as a blessing, and go from there, and make the most of it. So I think that's something that I've learned from these two incidents, and that has shaped like my thinking as well as my lifestyle from then on.
Thanks for being so open, vulnerable, in sharing your thoughts around that. Also very sorry to hear that, but I mean to see the maturity from you, to be able to have that mentality to adapt in your current life approaches, and to see that you have such a strong support system as well, is wonderful. And I would imagine how much it must take. I mean, because in life, especially in an athlete's career as well, there's a lot of highs and lows, right? There's a lot of things that go behind the scenes. There's a lot of battles that you have to go through, right? Nothing ever comes easy, right? Nothing ever worth having ever comes easy. And I know you must have fought hard since 2022. What you've gone through to train, to go overseas, new coaches, routines, diet, lifestyle, everything that is part and parcel of a student athlete's and a pro athlete's career. So yeah, I mean, it's really good to see you. I mean, so raw, so recent, breaking the two records, and holding most of the records right now for high jump, and fighting for that elusive record that we're all as Singaporeans, and especially myself, that's cheering on and wanting to see you do that. So I do hope that you stay motivated and you keep fighting for what is worth fighting for. And thanks for sharing that with me. And
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be here without like all these people around me, It's definitely a team thing, I had huge support from my parents, like physiotherapy, like the different physiotherapists, friends, coaches, everyone just rallying around me. And I think most importantly, they gave me like um the strength to believe in myself as well. There were times where I doubted myself, definitely, like I could just throw the towel, and it's so easy to say, yeah, it's over, for me. But to have people supporting you and believing in you, that gives me the fire to keep going.
100%, and sometimes that's so important, right? To have that someone to believe in you, because sometimes self-doubt can creep in, right? We're all humans, it's normal. But to have that support system, to have the people that you said that are rallying behind you, really gives you sometimes that placebo effect to keep going, and you never know what you might achieve, right? As you've done. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And you participated in the Asian Games recently, right? That was in China, yeah?
Yeah, October last year.
Nice. And you gave a strong showing. I mean, despite injuries that have been niggling you for a bit. Describe to me, how was that Asian Games experience? Was it your first? And what does it feel like to jump, like you've said, right, in front of 80,000 people?
Yeah, so I mean, it actually relates back to the surgery. After the surgery, first thing I checked was my phone, and I saw the news that Asian Games had been postponed to the next year. And I was feeling kind of mad because I was like, I have to wait one more year for this. But my mom, she told me that it's all in God's timing. Like you probably wouldn't have been able to do two major games right out of the surgery within 3 months, right? So take it as time to come back, recover, and then go for a strong showing, right? So that really put things into perspective, that it's also out of your control. When the games happen, COVID pushed back a lot of things for everyone as well. And I think having that extra year helped me personally. And yeah, I was excited to go in Asian Games. Took 2 weeks off of school, had to handle some academic logistics with my professors, but was just really excited to be there. Competing against the Asia's number 1 and 2, Barshin and Wu. So I was really hyped. I saw the start list and I was like, oh, Barshin's not in my heat. Like I have to wait to the finals, to if I get there to compete against him. And Wu was in my heat. I had competed with him before, so it was like familiar as well. And I told myself, I want to make it to the finals. I have to jump with Barshin. And thankfully I did. It was the season's best as well. We were also working on the run up. It was a new 10-step run up for me. So that, going into the competition, I just had to believe in myself that, I had prepared enough to do that. And yeah, so making the finals was definitely the icing on the cake. I got his signature as well. When he finished his victory ceremony, he came out. I handed him my jacket and a Sharpie, and he signed it, and we had that awesome picture. So yeah, overall Asian Games was one of the highlights of my career so far.
Beautiful. I mean, so happy to hear that. Was it your first time meeting him?
No, I had met him in Qatar in 2019, but he had to pull out because he had a recent surgery. Wasn't ready yet. He said he was waiting for the world champs that was going to be a few months later. And so, I was pretty bummed. I was like, man, like my parents got to meet him first as well. He was in the stands while I was jumping in the heat. So, that was like a funny full cycle moment, meeting him again at the Asian Games, but this time competing with him. That's really a strong memory to have.
And I'm so happy for you. I mean, to meet. He was the winner, right, of the recent Olympics, was he?
Yeah, the Olympic champion, Asian champion, world champion, you name it, he has it.
Right. So okay, that's I'm happy for you that like you said, Asian Games got postponed, but it's all in your words, God's way of allowing you to participate in the Asian Games, and also to have a I don't know, would you say more rest time from your surgery back in
Yeah,
2022? Yeah. So
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
right now you're studying in the US. When did you move to the US? Was it in 2020,
22 August.
2022? Yeah. And how difficult was it transitioning from Singapore to studying in the US? Like, are there any huge differences compared to Singapore so far?
I think, it's always different when you're traveling, versus like living and staying in a country for extended period of time, such as studying. I've traveled a lot as a kid, growing up and, being at training camps for like a month, um, by myself as well. So I think I'm pretty independent when it comes to such, like traveling and living, but definitely had some adjusting periods when I came to the States to study. I think one was like the weather, it wasn't too, um the four seasons, right? Like you have to take that into consideration on top of like, your training, your classes. But also I think, the US food portions are pretty big. So for me, I kind of like let myself loose a little bit, with eating in the US, and gain a little bit of weight, but hope at that point in time I was just like getting used to it. And so like I quickly found a better way to feed myself and get that nutrition in. I think this year has been way better. After having a whole year in Philadelphia, I've been able to, I've known what works for me, what doesn't work for me, how to adjust and acclimatize better. So definitely looking forward to my remaining 2.5 years here.
Awesome. As a student athlete, I mean, you're competing, you're practicing, traveling all the time, and then now you're also in university in a different country, um, and you also have to focus on academics, keeping your grades on point. I mean, how do you handle all of that? I mean, does it affect your social life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the answer is pretty cliche, time management, right? But to actually put it into practice, it takes a certain level of discipline. In the fall season, that's like it's kind of better for us because we don't have competitions, we're just training and we have school. But on top of that, extracurriculars, I'm in a few clubs as well. So that does, add up over the semester. And then I think, prioritizing stuff, right? So in the fall, for me, I take more classes because I know I have more time, I have more flexibility there. But when it comes to the spring season, which is right now, then I, take one class off, and then instead, the extra time I use for practice, for competitions, I try to ensure that I get, 8 hours of sleep every day. For me, sleep is fundamental. If I'm not feeling rested, I get injured, I can't practice, I can't focus in class, everything just falls. So for me, sleep is really like the fundamental. In social life, I think in the fall it's easier, I guess, to have like your social life outside of track because you don't have that competitions where you're away with the team on the weekends. During the season, definitely most of my social life is with track. I see them every day. We travel on the weekends. It's fun. We grow really close together. And so I think when you merge those two together, it becomes like a good synergy, I would say. And I love my team. They really like it's a really fun bunch to be around. We actually hang out after practice as well. We would go to the dining halls. We would even go to some of the upperclassmen's house to play games. So it's a good bunch of community to be around, and I'm just excited that we have this at here at Penn.
Perfect, man. And I think there's a good way, I mean, to describe how you balance it all. I think you're really, really smart about it. And you do strategize like which season, what you can do in it, what classes you can take, what classes you can have off in different seasons. And I think, I mean, that's wonderful. But I must imagine you must be really, really busy most of the time. I mean, because there's so many things going on, right? Track, studies, socials. But I think it's great to see that how you plan out. So like social life with your track and field. And you did mention earlier that you are pretty close to them. So that's good to see. And the starting is always not easy, right? But it's good to see that you have adapted well. I mean, you've transitioned well. I would presume you you're having a good time in the US, yeah?
Yeah, I am. I think it's also, the team's been really welcoming, even as a freshman, I think the upperclassmen would make the effort to get to know the underclassmen. And, I think an added factor is as well, because, coming from Singapore, you've done the military, you're slightly older than your peers. So in that aspect, it's a little easier to relate to the upperclassmen, because they're seniors who are like 21. I was 21 as a freshman, so it was that relatability, and I guess yeah, so like it was easier for me, I feel, as a freshman to make friends that were upperclassmen, seniors and juniors as well.
The only thing I'll say is just enjoy the rest of your college life. I mean, the 2.5 years, still young, you never get it back. So just enjoy it all the way, yeah.
Yep.
And so
Savoring every day.
that's so good to hear. And outside of the sport, do you have any like hobbies and interests that you partake in? Anything you enjoy doing outside of track?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't have much free time, honestly, but I try to learn like the guitar, for example. That was in the fall. For me, outside of track, I like to, go cafe hopping. So trying new places around Philly. I think Philly has a lot of like quaint cafes that you could discover. But that being said, once it's spring season, we're mostly away during the weekends. So for me, it's just like, making my own coffee. I'm thinking whether I should get a coffee machine for next year when I move into a house. That would be pretty nice to make my own coffee, and from the beans, get the coffee grounds, and then make a breakfast. Those kind of relaxing things I like to do. As outside of track, I would like to play soccer, but it's so difficult to stay injury free playing that. My coach has told me, I don't want to see you playing any other sport, because it's just I'm pretty injury prone when I play other sports. So I think, that's just gonna be on the back burner for now till I finish track.
Yeah, better not. I mean, I did play soccer when I was in university, and I got injured so much. I mean, my ankle was destroyed, my knees.
Yeah,
Yeah, especially in Australia when this guys they're huge, man. Like right? Like in US and
yeah,
Australia, this guy, they're very different from the average Asian build, and they really wipe you out. And I
yeah,
experienced that multiple times. So yeah, and so I must imagine like coffee is like your staple. You really like coffee a lot. Do you have it like daily?
yeah. I do. What I miss, I tell people, they ask me, what do you miss from Singapore? I say toast box, um, go peeping, dating. I actually, I was in Japan this winter break for training camp, and I brought back with me like the Japanese coffees. It's like, just a taste of home, for example. It's something to, remind me of like my parents as well, because they were with me in Japan, and they really love coffee as well. So, little things like that, keeps you close with your parents, and also like, uh, I don't feel too homesick. More so the food for me. Still trying to get used to the American diet here.
100%. So like you're saying, like the cafes they serve huge portions, different from Singapore, yeah.
Yeah, everywhere. Like the dining halls, cafes, restaurants, biggest portions. Probably I'd say like at least 1.5 times Singapore size.
Okay, good. You can get more protein in. I mean, do you hit the gym and all like strength strength work, conditioning?
Yeah, I mean, not outside of practice. I don't go for, it's more functional instead of
Yeah,
like aesthetics or like trying to build certain groups of muscles. It's more like, what positions my body is going to be in. We try to emulate that, strengthen that. It is also to prevent injuries. So I guess hitting the gym would be more functional. Yeah.
cool. Okay, so yeah, I mean that's it. Beautifully put, and I think that's a great way to end the podcast. So once again, thank you so much, Kampton, for taking time off to come on this podcast. And I think a lot of our listeners, viewers will take away a lot of things that they can learn from.
Thank you so much for having me, Viano. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and you've been a great host, and continue doing what you're doing. I think it's a very good impact on our community here in Singapore as well. So I'm also rooting for you. Every day is a blessing, and don't take the simple things for granted. If you have a passion, follow it, and just love what you do.